Good afternoon and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Administrative Committee for Washington County. All proper notices were sent, and I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call. Are all our folks here? Okay, everybody is here, which is a wonderful thing, and we have a quorum. And I'd like to ask if you'd please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have before us a consent agenda, which is the Human Resource Department monthly update, the minutes of August 20th, 2020, our last meeting, and the tax deed update. Would look for a motion to approve. We have a motion by thank you, Ms. Guzzi, and seconded by Supervisor Hartwig. Any comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. We have one discussion item, and I wanted to let the folks know that are here from our wonderful library group that I read all 73 pages of your thing. In fact, I thought the ones that might have comment on or might bring comment, I did print out on double-sided paper. So I did want to let you know, if you've seen all of the action items, we do have a lot of different budgets that we're going to be going through today. So to keep this going on forever and ever, I am going to just ask and assume that everybody has read through this. Like I said, I've read through it, I've underlined it, I made sure. So what I would ask for the human resource, or excuse me, the county library study update, I will invite somebody to come up, but please understand, we're not looking to go through 73 pages of a report that everybody here has read and has been available on the internet, for everybody, not only here in our audience, but all the citizens to view. So to open up with some highlights and then ask for any questions. And I do have some questions, but one does not need to go through or read ad nauseum the report, which was very well done. And that's one of the things I wanted to compliment you on opening up, is I was very impressed at the thoroughness of what you did and what you went through, and especially some of the appendices, which I think went extraordinarily well and really explained, I think, if you went through it, which I believe the rest of the members of our committee did, that it truly shows all the things that you went through and the amount of time and effort that was gone into creating this report. So who will be presenting? Is there any presentation or any questions that you have of the board, or would somebody like to come up and just give us the highlights of what is in the report? Okay, either one. You could both come up, but we are live streaming this, so you have to do it into the microphone. So you can use this microphone. That's the deal. Oh, you got to do it into the microphone. If you're talking to us, you're talking to everybody, so you got to do it in the microphone. Nope. You don't need anything. No. Okay. I'll take my mask off. Wonderful, thank you.
I'm Jennifer Einwalter. I'm the director of the Jack Russell Library in Hartford. Supervisor Mahalik is our mayor. And a year ago, this study came to be because county staff brought the idea forward of forming joint libraries in Washington County, and that's what triggered this study. So we took a deep dive in for the last year. We were supposed to come to you in May, but COVID sort of
changed the world.
Changed us. So it actually worked to our advantage because we were able to do some more digging, and we dug deeper into the 2019 data. So, Trish, do you want to talk about the Act 420?
Yep. Absolutely. So we're just going to go through a couple highlights, and then we can take some questions.
You want to take the microphone and put it right down. If you're not, you can leave your mask on if you wish, but we need to. Is that okay? That's okay. Better. Yes, okay. Thank you.
Perfect. One of the really big picture moments that we took away from this is that Act 420, while we know it is costing about $160,000, in all of our investigation, we have concluded that it really does work to our advantage and provide access to all of our residents, especially those on the borders of our county, especially dealing with the southern border near Waukesha County and the eastern border on Ozaukee County. One of the things that we were really surprised by is that the cross-county circulation is actually fairly steady. Since 2006, when it was $77,000, it has risen to the $160,000, but that is mostly due to the increase in the cost per circulation, and that is going to be the total expenditures for each library divided by the number of items, physical items that gets checked out. So the rise in cost, while a little bit of it can be circulation, majority of it is going to be because costs are going up at these libraries. In 14 years, things cost more. All of our libraries have also seen increases in cost per circ. So that's primarily where we're seeing the increase. You can see on page 1 and page 2, we have a couple of graphs that show that.
The next highlight that we kind of came across, we didn't come across, but Washington County is underdeveloped. We're underdeveloped in 2 ways. We're underdeveloped in libraries. There's only 5 libraries in the county to serve 136,000 residents. Of that 136,000 residents, it's about 1,700 people, or 1.26% of the population, that have cards either at libraries in Waukesha County or at the Cedarburg Library. It's a very small percentage of the people. We always presumed it was this big amount. It's really not. It's a very small percentage. The other thing, how we're underdeveloped, and if you look at page 10 in your report, you can scroll to that page. There's a map, and it will show you the dining, the shopping, and the entertainment options. Washington County, again, is underdeveloped. If you have a Costco card, you either head east to Grafton or you head south to Menominee Falls. That's just the reality of it.
What about Sam's Club? which offers concealed carry and Costco does not.
Well, really?
Yes, which is why I'm a Sam's Club member.
You got to slide that in there, don't you? Yeah, but Sam's you would go to Menominee Falls for.
Yep.
So you would still go to the falls.
Yep.
So the other thing that, and we've always said this, location is extremely important. We actually were able to survey 2,337 people. They responded to our survey. The village of Richfield was fantastic to us. They allowed the survey to be stuffed into their tax bills. I believe Jackson did as well. The town of Erin declined. They declined because they didn't feel, their supervisors didn't feel it was their responsibility. I'll have to work on that one.
Yeah. Why did they stuff their own envelopes or what?
I had heard it was for reasons within the treasury. She didn't want it in the bill.
Okay.
So but we were able to determine that 84.55% of the people that responded, location is the #1 reason in which they choose the public library that they visit. So if it's more convenient for them and they're going to go by Sussex, or they're going to go and they're on their way, or they work in the falls, they're going to go to those libraries because it's more convenient for them. That is the #1 reason. And I think we're finding that with COVID as well. People want more convenience. So we're all pivoting towards that. The whole reason we did this study was because of joint libraries. So Trish is going to talk more about what we discovered with the joint libraries.
For one of the main reason we are here today is because the discussion of joint libraries was brought up, and in the study we really dug into what a joint library is, how that would affect all of us. If you look at page 12 of your study, we have a map that is divided by school district. That was originally the proposal that was presented to us a year ago. You can see all the non-served municipalities are assigned to a library. While this on paper, it seems like it might work, there are a lot of concerns that we had, and that's what alerted us to dive deeper and study the numbers. One of the key areas is Richfield. You can see that is right between Hartford, Germantown, and part of Slinger. So the big reality is that these residents in non-served areas that don't have a library in a municipality are choosing what library to go to. And that's one of the positive things about Act 420 and about our county funding structure is that we get paid out by service. If you look at Richfield, they were originally assigned to Hartford, which proposes a dilemma for Germantown. Last year we had over 55,000 circulations to Richfield, and Hartford only had 4,500. So big difference. You see a big difference in circulation. A lot of that is just where people live, where people work, where people go to school. Again, going off of that location piece. So that would really it'd be about $200,000 that Germantown would lose to Hartford if we had to pick where. Right now the money can be distributed, but if we had to pick either library, and the reality of that is the residents are not going to just go to the Hartford Library because that's now their library. They're going to continue going to Germantown, and we would have an extremely hard time supporting that usage if we were losing all that funding. So the funding is not distributed by access, which creates a lot of unfair situations. Jackson is also one of the big areas where it's right in between West Pennsylvania and Germantown, and then Cedarburg over to the east, where we see some of that funding going. So that's the dilemma of where would Jackson go, and it was assigned to West Bend, but it still serves a lot of other areas. So the model right now creates a funding structure that's everybody has access, everybody has the ability to use a library, and the reality of some people choosing to use libraries that are not in our county because most likely they are on that bordering area.
So if we were to add 2 libraries, it would most likely be it would be Jackson and Richfield that would have the greatest impact on the numbers that you're reporting, is my understanding correct?
Yeah,
Thank
correct. Aaron is
Okay.
also plays a big
Yeah, but they didn't want to put the thing in their envelope. Kidding.
and while it could, it would absolutely help some numbers. There's probably still going to be some amounts of people that do continue to use those libraries. They're used to those libraries. They might be closer, the school districts, all of those. Then, so the thing about the model we have now in our county and our 420 is that we continue to be served. The payment is by access, not by trying to guess where people are going to go. We also looked at a lot of other options. Of course, building libraries is always something that is out there. We haven't had any, none of the municipalities have had interest in that, but we also looked at a lot of different things. Vending machines for books, more outreach, a joint county library. We tried to look at every single option, and the reality is that all of these options are going to cost a lot more than the Act 420 money being spent. We took a deep dive on page 13 into how much it would cost to build a library. Richfield is about the size of Hartford, which has about $1 million, and 700,000 of that is funded by the.
When you are you talking a greater area of Richfield? Because the city of Richfield and the city of Hartford, Richfield is not the size of Hartford. I mean,
It's population
Population-wise.
When you look at the population of the village of Richfield and you look at the population of the city of Hartford, that's the only closest
Okay.
comparison in the county.
oh, okay, because it's like 12,000 to 16,000. So
Right, it's the
It's the
only
closest
comparison. To
Alrighty.
And also looking at the library standards and what a library is, and not just being, a room in a municipal center, and all the requirements that the state has for building a library would cost a lot more money than these municipalities are paying right now. Also, the reality of the levy limits, where these communities would really have to raise their levy limits in order to support these libraries, and most likely go to referendum for building these libraries. And then Jennifer's gonna wrap up real quick and then talk about our recommendations.
Okay.
So we've talked a little bit about the 160,000. So I mentioned it's 1.26% of the total 136,000 population that leave the county. So that means 98% of the other residents choose to stay in the county. They total 3.93% of the total circulation in the county, and we circulate over 1 million items. I think last year it was 1.2 million. When you look at the total amount of money that is levied each year in Washington County between the 5 municipal libraries, the payment that Hartford gets from Dodge County, and then what Washington County residents are giving, it's $4.1 million. This out of county usage equals 3.92% of that budget, of that amount of tax levy. The reason that it matches is because the libraries are actually being paid at a true cost of 70% for their circulation.
And that's by state statute.
That's by state statute. Yep, you're right on. And 90% of the $160,000 is going to 4 libraries. And that's why we focus the report on 4 libraries: Cedarburg, the Falls, Sussex, and the Town Hall Library. All of the recommendations that we have to make, they do not have a fiscal impact to the county. They do not change the levy for next year, which is a flat levy that was requested. Our recommendations include things such as we would recommend that the county transfer some of the administrative workload of the county library and the Act 420 stuff to Monarch Library System. There would be some cost savings there. That's all at no charge. That's for being a member of the library system. You would be able to do that. We'd like to have an annual payment made to the libraries because right now, the way that our contract is set up, we get paid quarterly. We don't know how to budget. We don't want to budget too low. We don't want to budget too high. I don't want to go to my city administrator and say, I don't have enough money. That would be good. We never know the full amount we're going to get. We would recommend that the cross-county payments continue under Act 420 after this study shows it really is the cheapest option that you have. We have a capital offset payment in our contract. We'd like to just move that and have that absorbed into CERC money so that we could use that to operate our libraries. And then we'd like to have a committee appointed by the county to look at the current contract. The current contract is from 1987. It was re-ratified in 2013, but the library contract started in 1987 through a referendum, and that's how the library services started. So the contract is old. It needs to be refreshed. There's things in it that they are not the library standard anymore in our industry that we work in.
Is that something that you can redline for us? That would be great. I mean, specifically to the standards that you're just talking about.
Absolutely.
That would be a big help, and then we can reference the standards that you're doing, and that can be considered. I think that it
Yes.
would make it a lot easier for any committee that I'm sure Don would, you would be responsible for setting that up. I'm assuming, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's our whole presentation. We kept it as short and
You did a
concise as
wonderful
we
job.
could. So do you have other questions?
Well, I just have a couple of things, but I wanted to open it up to the committee members. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns regarding the library, we will go with County Board Chair Creefall.
A couple questions I have for you. Now, are libraries consistent with their charges from county to county? Are they equal if someone from Richfield's using the Menominee Falls or Cedarburg? Are the charges consistent?
They're not the same because it depends on each library's total operating budget, their expenditures, and the total amount of circulation that they have. So if the community of Cedarburg is supporting their library and their cost per circulation is $5, you have to pay 70% of that.
Okay.
So it's not the same across the board.
It's not the same across the board. Okay. So then the other question I have is, you're talking about that we're short of libraries within our system. From my calculations, we're running about 40% of the population of Washington County that frequent the library, have library cards. So you're looking about 8,500 to 9,000 per library. What is the standard for libraries? I mean, what is your standard circulation? I mean, your standard amount of people that would have library cards that would frequent your establishment?
That's going to depend on your library. It's going to depend on your community. It's going to depend on how the leader of your library, the director, markets to your community. That's going to depend on the growth of your community, the expectations of. I can tell you in Hartford, we have 14,000 registered card holders. That's how many we have at my library.
Okay.
It just really depends on, and some people don't come in the door. They come in just to get a card to just do things electronically. Some people come in for those physical checkouts. It just really depends on the community. If you're in a more urban area or you're in a more rural area, it really just depends. Our total service population in Hartford is 23,000 people. And that's because that takes into account all of the people that live in a non-served community that use our library.
Right. Yeah. What I'm trying to get at is if we're going to state that we're short of libraries within our community, we need some facts that show that I have this many people I need to serve, and I need this many libraries to serve them. So without that kind of data, how can we make a determination whether or not we have too many or not enough libraries? So we need that data. I didn't find it in the report when I went through it. So we can all say we need more, or we could have someone on the other side just say we need less. Without that.
Yeah, we can definitely get that number and look at some of our averages in Wisconsin. One of the main thing that we were looking at from our perspective was just location based and how how far some of our residents have to travel to the different libraries. When you look at Waukesha County, there's a lot more libraries right on that border. So,
Does,
Well, they have double the population too. I just want to
right,
make sure that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and
No.
it's just the way our county is. You know, if Hartford and West Bend Library were closer, we might not see all the people traveling to those libraries. So it's we can definitely get those
So
some
you-
numbers for you.
yeah, do you have like online options too for people?
We
So-
do. Yeah,
so-
absolutely. We have Overdrive is what we have through our system in the state of Wisconsin. So there's ebooks and the audiobooks options, and then a lot of us have some other different programs as well that allow
You have the
people
great
to.
courses.
We have great courses. Yep, 360 online courses. So, and we are with COVID, we're really pivoting a lot of our services and adding our online options, knowing that people especially now need those options at home as well as at the library.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Because I have one. I just wanted to make sure everybody has an opportunity. The appendix G that you had, which is of the Bridges Library System,
Mhm.
and you had from Connie Meyer. Actually, I just
Sure.
wanted to kind of comment on it and know if you had any comments. Numerous advantages for counties with the current arrangement, and I thought that it was actually a clever way for her to frame her argument. I just wanted what your approach was. That payments to libraries across the county line are an extremely cost-effective way to purchase services while offering citizens access to libraries exactly where the residents want services. And this is one of the things. And what she's doing is it sounds like making the argument of status quo actually works. Of course, and I think I heard the word referendum, which is a way that somebody like a Jackson or a Richfield, if they would want something like that, they can get a group together and then they can literally put something together within their community. But there is a lot of cost to
Absolutely.
building a library, and it's not a static cost. You don't build the library and that's it. You
Yeah.
now have all the staffing and all of the things that the 5
Mhm.
communities are taking up that we currently have in Washington County. I mean, if Jackson and Richfield want to build a library, great. I mean, I think that's fine, but there is a lot of cost
There
to
is.
building a high quality library and then continually staffing it.
Mhm.
So, and the needs seem to be being met, but it's up to those communities.
And why would they want to pay more when it's cheaper for them with the county tax?
Correct.
I mean, that's why, and I understand what you were asking, Don, with your question about the number of libraries, but why would the village of Richfield want to build a library if they're only paying $330 some thousand to the tax? And that's it. They don't have to maintain it. They don't have to
Nope.
do anything.
Nope.
Whereas the other 5, and that's the point I think we're trying to make, is that these other communities know they know it's cheaper to pay the county library tax.
A lot cheaper when you consider what it would cost even for a small library.
Yes.
They would pay 20 years worth of tax up front.
Yes.
And that's without
Correct.
staffing or anything. So, and I'm
Yes.
probably underestimating the tremendous cost that is.
Mhm.
But if they want the service, they're welcome to pay for it.
Mhm.
But the taxpayers need to step up and say, we want that. And if they're getting the type of services that they may need, then the status quo actually works. And I thought that including that particular Appendix G was really kind of made that jump out. And I wanted to thank you for including that. Also, you had the part on page 13 and 14, the building additional libraries in Washington County. And I liked, again, just a compliment on how you laid it out, akin to the Wisconsin Public Library standards cost to build and maintain public libraries. So including that and allowing us to have all of that information was very helpful in being able to understand, the challenges that you face, what we're doing. And I think it'll lend credence to the points that you're looking at as far as the change and what County Board Chair Creefall will be able to frame when he sets up the committee that you're asking for. So I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, that is our discussion item. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
You
much.
bet.
If you
And,
have
I-
any follow-up questions, just feel
Yep,
free to
okay,
email us.
and I appreciate that. And we'll have Don follow up with you. Supervisor Dice, yes, please. Oh, if you go up to the microphone, you're more than welcome to make a compliment. Representing the fine city of West Bend on the county board.
Thank you for that.
Just pull the mic down. Thank you.
for short people.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Just to let you know, I serve on the County Services Library Board as well as Monarch Library System. So I think the most important page after this very thorough report by our librarians is page 3 with their recommendations.
Yep.
I'm totally in favor of number 1, 4, and 5. 2 and 3, I think we need to look at with more depth
Okay.
before those are approved. But on the whole, just as a reference to number 1, Monarch Library System does do this for both Sheboygan and Ozaukee County. And I think that's a good way for Washington County to proceed. So I too want to applaud our librarians for this excellent report. I think it answers any questions you may have. So I hope you take their recommendations to heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other supervisors that would like to? Seeing none, we will go on to our action items. Action item, these are all under 6. We'll go by the letters. First one is 6A, the 2021 Agricultural and Industrial Society Budget Request for Financial Support. We'll take these one at a time. So I would look for a motion to move forward with this. Supervisor Vespalic, second by Supervisor Hartwig. Okay, we all have these. I know I've looked at each one of these here. I'm sure that each one of you have pulled it up. You can see that it's the requested budget is pretty much the same. So a 0% increase as we move forward. I think that's one of the wonderful things as regards to what's going on with the tax levy, that we're not seeing any increase. And so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, comments, questions? Please go ahead. Oh, wait, you got to light up. When you see the red, there you go.
I just have one question. 60,000, is that usually the normal amount that they put forward?
How many years have we gone with that dollar amount now? It's been quite a few, hasn't it?
It's been as long as I've been here. I don't know how far back before that. So it's at least 2015.
Oh, so at least 5 years. So
Okay,
Wonderful.
that's all I want to know. Thank you.
thank you very much. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Hearing no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 6B, the 2021 Historical Society Budget Request for Financial Support. I'll give a moment for everybody to pull that up. Let's see. We have, did everybody see that? Of course, they have the grant document there as well. So you can see what's going on as regards to the total increase, decrease. We can see that dollar amount as we move forward is going down, which is fine because they're taking more responsibility for some of the money that's been coming in and what their expenditures are. Obviously, we set this up, so we are going to move the Historical Society to a position where they're going to be independent, but would look for a motion to approve. Motion by Supervisor Guzzi, second by Supervisor Gurath. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay, thank you. Any discussion, comments, questions? Yes. Margie, did you have something for us? Okay.
Thank you. So we actually need 2 actions for this one agenda item. One is for the normal budget, like we did with AIS just now, and we'll do for the others. The other is related to that committee report that I submitted, allowing us to use those strategic priority monies in 2021 to continue 1 year of operational grants.
Okay, so this first one will be for the budget as proposed. Any questions or comments? The second was Linda Gurath. You bet. Hearing no questions or comments, all those in favor of passing the proposed budget we have in front of us, the 2021 budget summary, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, that carries. The second one is what Margie has requested, and that is a permission to use the I'll let you state it so she can get it exactly down here.
We are asking for approval for the use of the county strategic priority funds to extend the Washington County Historical Society grant for 1 year into 2021.
And that's obviously with the Wuhan coronavirus catastrophe that we've had and their lack of ability to move forward with funding the Historical Society makes this necessary. And so that's what we're looking at. This is a second item, so we're looking for a motion and a second on this. A motion by Supervisor Guzzi, second by Supervisor Hartwig. Any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item 6C, the 2021 County Clerk Budget. We have Ashley right here. Dun, dun, dun. So we will give a moment to pull this up. I'm sure all of you have had a chance to take a peek. Lots of numbers on yours. Interestingly enough, if you could, this is very interesting, and if anybody looking at this at home, because obviously this is available online, if you just wanted to give us a paragraph or two on what you're looking at as regards to department total tax levy. I know there's been some bodies shifted around, but just to explain the fact that obviously the numbers are going down, which is not a bad thing. I mean, we're looking to conserve, but what is causing that? If you
So one of the big changes is the central reproductions budget. So you can see that in the budget with the two different account numbers. We shifted how we were budgeting central and actually moved it into the county clerk's, officially into the county clerk's budget. In regards to staffing, within the last maybe year and a half, we eliminated one full-time position and one part-time position and an additional limited staff person or position this past spring. So those would be the biggest cost savings for us that you'll see on that form.
Super, thank you very much. Comments, questions as regards to this? We would look for a motion to approve the county clerk budget. We have Supervisor Vespalic, second by Supervisor Hartwig. Any further discussion? Questions, comments on any of the numbers? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We now go to the 2021 library budget, which is 6D. Give everybody a chance to pull that up. So you will notice an incredible similarity between the two numbers of 2019 and 2020 of $1,642,617, which means that there is no additional request. It is flat. Again, appreciate all the work done to maintain the level of service while maintaining the cost, which is a wonderful thing. Would look for a motion to approve by Supervisor Grath, second by Supervisor Vespalic. Questions, comments? The library's already given us a very detailed report, but if you have any question on their 2021 budget summary, this is the time. Seeing none, all those in favor for the library budget 2021 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next, we have the county treasurer budget. And please know we do have the treasurer and the incoming treasurer here. So if you do have any specific questions, we'll give you a chance to load that up. So interestingly enough, I do notice the revenue and other sources, the interest rates dropped significantly due to COVID-19. There's a plus to all of us folks who might be able to refinance a loan for a mortgage because the interest rates are so down. But the negative part of that is the fact that when you're trying to get money in some of these protected bonds and things like that, the government have to, they always lean on the side of safety. We're not gambling in the stock market with county funds. And because of that, the interest rates drop as well, which of course explains interest earnings really dropping on money that we have. But other than that, wanted to know, well, first, a motion and a second to move forward with this. Supervisor Hartwig, Supervisor Grass, second. So, questions, comments on the County Treasurer 2021 budget summary? Everybody okay with the numbers? Understand what's going on here with the current explanation? Super. Well, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next, 2021 Finance Department budget. We will let everybody pull that up. That's 6F. 6F on Finance Department. Now, this obviously is getting some of the shifting around, I understand, with some of the personnel in that. So because we see an increase here, first we'll ask for a motion and a second to move forward with this. So do we have a motion to move forward with the Finance 2021? Supervisor Guras, second by Supervisor Vispalik. Okay, and Margie, did you want to comment? Only because you're one of the very few that's actually showing an increase. So I just wanted to, and I know it's a lot of the movement around, and just as an explanation, if you would please.
So the increase for in our budget is, it's kind of just a movement of money from the right pocket to the left pocket. So overall, the county every year kind of looks at some of our overhead costs, specifically our county attorney, finance, HR, a little bit of IT, treasury function, purchasing functions. Those are then kind of allocated out to some of our grantor departments or our grantee departments, because they're able to use that as what they call an indirect cost that they can file on the grant claims to get some partial reimbursement from federal and state grants. So in order to have everything be balanced, if we want to recognize those expenses in their department, we need to recognize a revenue somewhere else. So we're not doubling up those expenses. So that revenue is recognized within finance. That revenue is going down, and that's because the county has had cost reductions in several of these areas. So the costs allocated to those departments is also down. So it's really hard to determine the net impact, because like I said, a portion of those are gained back through grants, but it's all kind of done indirectly. So it's not necessarily a dollar for dollar comparison, but.
Okay, I had also went over some of this before the meeting, so I have a pretty good understanding. I'm sure that all of you can see the numbers here and have gone over them personally. Did you have any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this? Okay, we already have a motion and a second. So seeing no further questions or comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next, we go to Human Resources. We do have our Human Resources Director here. I know there were some questions, that were discussed earlier with the Human Resources Director, but first we'll get a motion and a second for the 2021 budget summary for Human Resources. Okay. Supervisor Guzzi to move forward, second by Supervisor Gurath. If you could, I know we did have a question, Todd, if you could just kind of mention that question again and just speak to what Human Resources is doing, so we can keep everything above board as regards to the number of people, what's normal, and what we're doing to move forward to fill.
Related to the staffing?
Yes.
There was a question earlier that there was a question about the number of open positions that were out there and where are we at with that and what does that mean? And I think through conversation, ultimately looking at the size of our population, we have about 825 total employees, including seasonals and otherwise. And so depending on anywhere from 30 to 60 openings, depending on the time of year, smaller percentage of our workforce, but the other part is most of those openings occur within our Samaritan at this point in time. Specifically CNAs, LPNs, RNs, many of those second shift. And so, and many of those are what we would call casual positions or limited, working less than 20 hours a week. So they fill in on weekends, things like that. So, and right now we're continuing to recruit. I think the other thing that our administrator at the Samaritan has shared in the past is that there is a significant issue with not having people who are qualified, not licensed to perform the positions, CNAs, LPNs, RNs, in the Wisconsin marketplace relative to the number of open positions in the marketplace. So there's a bunch of things that kind of make that up. Is that kind of the question?
Right. Does it make it a little easier than the fact that we went to the 75th percentile type of pay to make it so that we can be more competitive in those or with those particular positions?
I don't know that I have data that I could use that could tell me that. I think that it certainly hasn't hurt us, but again, I think that's a very competitive market.
Yes.
And so right now, everybody is looking at any opportunity they can to try to draw talent in, including things like sign-on bonuses, retention bonuses, etc. And so it certainly hasn't hurt us, but I don't have data that could tell me that here's where we were before and here's where we are now.
Right.
And the difference.
Okay. All righty. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We have a motion and a second. Oh.
Well, we have one comment or note. So if you notice, the finance budget had one reduction in FTE and HR's budget has a reduction of 2 FTEs. Those aren't true reductions. Those are a shift to a newly created department. Because it's new, it got missed on this committee listing for that budget review. So what we're going to do is get that to you guys and then have a special meeting either before the next county board or right before the executive meeting for the public hearing. So I just wanted to let you know that.
You've created another meeting. Somebody better bring some lemonade for us. Okay. Super. We have a motion and a second for the human resources budget. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, 2021 Information Technology Department, our GIS division budgets. Okay, we're going to give everybody a chance, that's 6H, to pull that up. And some big numbers here. Right? Yes, information technology is something where you spend a lot of money. So, an increase of less than 1%. We're certainly happy about that, considering all the things you have to do to make sure that you're keeping all of the information secure. That's obviously a huge expense with all the things you hear about different municipalities and counties and even states being held for ransom. It happens a lot in the private sector as well. And we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we do not have our information in a position that it could be hijacked. And obviously that costs money. And we do what we need to do to make sure it's protected. And anytime we can do that, because it's a constantly moving target, for less than a 1% increase, we're very happy. So again, looking for Supervisor Guzzi, second by Supervisor Hartwig. Okay. Any discussion, comments, questions regarding the numbers here? Yes, Supervisor Vespali.
I guess I'm just curious on, is that a one-time outlay? What is outlay? It looks like is that a one-time chart? What is that? I guess.
Yes, please, go ahead. Just come up to the microphone.
So from an accounting perspective, outlay is any equipment purchase that's going to have a cost in excess of $5,000. So Eric can answer what exactly they're including in that.
Oh, you got that microphone?
Dave Barber, our IT director, unexpectedly and regrettably couldn't be here, so you get me tonight. I'm Eric Damcutt. I'm the GIS manager. The outlay that you saw in the 2020 budget was specifically related to an IP phone upgrade project. The IP phones that we had, over 700 handsets throughout the county. They were the original handsets that were put in place when the voice over IP system was installed somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago. So we needed to upgrade all of those handsets, and we also needed to upgrade the server side. So the server side were depreciable assets and included in the IT budget. The $200,000 was to actually fund all of those between 700 and 800 handsets and a few other miscellaneous supplies. So that was a project expense. That project was budgeted in 2020. Obviously, we don't need to re-budget for that again in 2021.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any additional questions, comments on our technology department GIS? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Last is our health reserve option, a health savings account, HSA. Give everybody a chance to pull that one up. That is 6I. And I'm going to guess, is this, Todd, if you'd like to give us just a bit, Director Scott from our HR department will give us just a little bit of what we're looking at here.
Sure. So hopefully the committee report was helpful.
Yep.
I think first off, remember that we are self-insured. So we fund all of our expenses that flow through our health plan. 6 years ago when I started our reserve, which if we are over budget, we use that reserve then to pay, was basically down to next to nothing. And so we've made a lot of plan modifications and changes. We also had some of our high cost claims go away. And so as a result, we've been able to control our costs, as well as through working with our finance department and setting the budgets, been able to increase that reserve. The plan is to have about a 3-month of total costs, so we can pay 3 months of cost for our health insurance reserve. And the hope was that we would get that done within about 5 years, based on some of the plan changes we've made, based on some of those high cost claims going away from our plan, based on some of the budgeting we've had. We've not only met that window, but we've also exceeded it to the point of about, and Margie, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's a little more than $1 million of reserve over and above 3 months worth of claims. And so what we're looking to do is to spend down some of that reserve on one-time costs, to get us back to what our accounting practice is for that 3 months window of claims. And so what was proposed here is to say, use a portion of this money to increase or double the amount that we're currently contributing to employees who are in our health insurance plan. So if they're in single coverage, they can contribute to an HSA plan. We contribute right now to their plan. In fact, what's in the sheet in front of you, $312 for single, $728 for family. We're talking about doubling that in 2021. That's going to what, I apologize, I'm looking at my numbers here. Yes, that's going to use about 300. We'll look at the one before. I'm sorry. Margie, correct me if I'm wrong, that's using up about $350,000 of reserve?
If we double the HSA, it'll use 340,000 total budget, 170,000 of which would come from reserves.
Okay. And so then we also look at in this proposal, for those people who aren't currently in our plan or who are in our plan, but maybe may choose to go off our plan to a different plan, offering what would be termed an opt-out, where we would contribute to those people the family amount that the people who are in our plan would get. So that in essence, you would reduce the total number of people in our plan as a potential. That's not a guarantee. Certainly they can elect what they'd like to elect, but it's offering that opt-out. So that's what's proposed here, and that's what the recommendation is going to ask from the committee to approve. The other thing that was talked about in our last meeting, or during our budget meeting, I guess is what I was thinking about, was we had talked about looking at other ways to kind of spend down some of that reserve, specifically one-time type of costs. And we were asked to take a look at options and then bring it back to the committee. And so we did put on there some of the things that we've kind of looked into that we think have some merits, things like flu shots, health coaching, some behavioral change classes, which I put out there, smoking cessation, weight management, maybe an on-site gym equipment for people here, or gym reimbursements. Again, those are all one-time type of costs. I don't have dollars for any of those, so there's no recommendation to do something there. Certainly open to input from the committee if they'd like to offer me any ideas as to things they would suggest. But am asking for a motion to double that HSA contribution to people in our plan, and then the opt-out piece. Open any questions.
Question, yes, Supervisor Guzzi.
Couple of quick questions in regards to this. So this is just for 2021, correct?
Correct.
So what's the expectation going to be going forward in 2022 when the staff actually have this massive increase in their HSA going forward? Is that, you know what I mean? Are they going to have a concern with that if in fact
It
are we
would
looking at
be,
maintaining it, or?
I mean, certainly I can't speak for every person.
Mhm.
What I can tell you is that we've been contributing an HSA contribution to employees for 2 years. I think if we decided we weren't going to do it next year, people would be wondering why. But again, I think we've been pretty upfront and honest with the staff here as to where we are relative to our budgets and our finances. And so I would expect that as we would roll this out, we would communicate to people that based on the fact that our health reserve is at this point, we are doing a one-time contribution and that there'll be no guarantee going forward. And then the next year when it would fall back to the normal amounts, I can't promise that there aren't going to be some people who are hoping they would have this, but there shouldn't be that expectation.
Okay. And then the other thing I just want to note is that I was doing some research on this, having been in the HR field, and that I want to note that the amounts that you're looking at for next year are on the higher end of the national average in regards to how much is typically put into an HSA. So just,
If they're on the higher end of the national average,
they're okay. So the national average is actually less than what you have, but looking at the actual overall, what is done nationally, you're on the higher end of that.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to make note of that.
correct.
And we might want to make note.
As to what our contribution would be when we double it.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
That is
Right.
correct. Yes.
And make note of that to the individuals who would be receiving it, is that, you know, this is something that when we have it, we'll share it. When we don't, we won't. So, you know, be thankful for when it's available, and when it's not, you make your adjustments, but we're not going to be raising tax levy in order to maintain what we're able to do as a little bit more this year. So, okay, well, we have in fact, do we have a motion?
You give another question.
No, okay, so motion to move forward. The supervisor, oh, yeah, what we'll do is we'll get a motion a second, and then you can continue. So we have a Supervisor Guzzi, second by Supervisor Grath. Okay, Supervisor Grath, please, your comments, questions?
Just a little comment on like the other things that you're looking at here. So, I mean, well, are you looking at using that total amount up in 2021? First would be the first question. If you want to use the amount up in 2021 in total. Yes? No?
I can't answer. I think if there are some valid reasons why that would make sense, that's possible. That's not the intent.
Okay, and then in looking at some of these other things, to give it to them and then take it away would be tough. But maybe an option would be to increase the HSA amount over 2 to 3 years. But you'd still have to communicate enough that they would know that eventually that uses up the reserve and then that's done.
And it's possible that going into the 2022 budget and 2023, based on where that reserve is, that may be a recommendation coming to this committee those years as well. Again, this is a one-time expense because we're looking at not being frivolous in how that we're using this. I think one of the concerns we've had in the past, looking at history, was that at one point there was a very healthy reserve established, and some of the ways that it was spent down, there's question as to whether or not it could have been used a little bit more diligently and
You're being very polite.
Yes. So the intent here is to say this is a reasonable expense. It's a one-time expense. Some of these other things may be things we might want to do. Those also would come before the committee. But it's possible it can happen. I don't know that we want to make a recommendation here because the other thing we don't know is what our health claims are going to look like. If we have some significant claims all of a sudden going forward into 2022, 2023, we may say, well, let's hold this reserve for a portion of it another year. So again, we're trying to be wise and conservative in how this money is used.
Yep. Okay, any other comments, questions? Chairman Prefo.
I have great pause as to what happened the last time we did this. And with the uncertainty going forward with our economy.
And our pandemic.
This really makes me pause. I don't know that we can do this in a prudent manner, if not knowing going forward. But anyhow, that being said, the opt-out again, the other question is about the opt-out. Now, if an employee opts, I'm not talking into the mic now. If the employee opts out, they get the family plan opt-out?
Correct.
Okay. My experience back when I worked for Fox Point Police, we had an opt-out program too. But what they did, they offered this, if it was a single plan, they offered the single plan. So if I'm a single and I get offered the family plan, I'm all over that because I that's, I can almost make $1,000 a month on that. So that may be a little bit, I appreciate all of our employees. I know we got a great group of people, but might be a little bit too generous in that respect. So I would suggest we're a little bit cautious in that. So that's just my 10 cents there.
Well, just to also, this basically gives you the flexibility to offer. This does not demand that you do it and everything.
No.
I mean, the discretion, of course, is up to what Human Resources, obviously in concert with your discussions with the county executive and that. So please understand, we're not creating dollar amounts
Right.
here.
Well, like I said, if I was a single.
Oh, I agree.
on a
I
plan
understand
here,
fully
I
what you're
would-
talking about.
It would be a no-brainer for me to
Yep.
opt out. Cause I get double that at least.
Yep.
So 14, when my wife lost her job a couple of years ago, we had a family plan for $750.
Mhm.
So I could get a single plan for much less than that. So I don't know if we're being a little overly generous or not.
Well, we're going to trust you, Ted.
I've made note and we'll share that feedback. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Our next scheduled meeting is October 15th, but we have been informed that we will have another meeting prior to that to handle the last budget, which is not in our packet right now. So please be aware that the next meeting will most likely be just before the county board meeting at the call of the chair. So we stand adjourned. Thank you.